Hello everybody, and welcome to Watercolor Day. We just did our module where we talked about painting, and so now we're going to just try our hand at painting ourselves. What we're doing today, this is what you're going to see in your textbook on page 494. This is by Paul Cézanne. It's Mont Saint Victory, and this was done as an oil on canvas. We are going to do it today as watercolor on paper, and I made a reproduction that I went ahead and put into the module on painting, and so you can pull that up and look at it on your computer, or you can go to page 494 in your textbook, or you could Google, see it there, Paul Cézanne, Mont Saint Victory, I don't know how to pronounce it, Twadi, I don't speak French, MONTSAINTE-VICTOIRE. Okay, so you can Google that, and then you can go ahead and follow along. There's a lot more saturation of color in here, a lot more greens in here. So I'm going to refer to this quite a bit for color. See greens in the sky. So much more so than the reproduction. But the bottom line is today we're going to do our impression of an impressionist painting. I am not a watercolorist. I paint on my pottery. I'm a ceramicist and I'm a sculptor, and I paint quite a bit on my pottery. But I paint with glazes, and I've taken painting classes, drawing classes, those type of things. When we're asked to teach these art appreciation classes, we all have our specialties, but we do have to cross over into other things. So probably some of you are better watercolorists than I am, but we're just gonna do our best, right? We're gonna have a little bit of fun with it today. Like I said, this is not my thing either, so y'all might do better than me. We'll see how this goes. So as always, I'm gonna start by analyzing this. I can see that this horizon line here is about a third of the way down on the paper. This is about halfway, so this peak is just on the to the right of the halfway mark on the paper. It starts here and then it drops very quickly and then tapers off quickly over to this direction. So I'm going to start by, well, first I'm going to put in my blues, and you'll see as we go, but this is what I'm looking at, are these lines here, so I can kind of dissect everything that's going on. Down here we have a little house that falls right below the peak. We've got just kind of an impressionism little houses here. It's very sketchy in here, very painterly, so this will be fun. Like I said, this is not my bag, so it's going to be a challenge for me today, and I'm going to just try and have some fun with it, and you will probably be delighted to find out that you do as well or better than me. So let's just get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay just some blue sky in. I'll throw a little, this is my lightest blue here. I'm going to throw it on here, and I want just a really light blue, and I'm going to go across, I figured this was about a third of the way down, so I'm going to go right across here with this blue. And with watercolor, you can kind of just push the paint around a little bit. It wicks very quickly when it's really wet, so I'm going to pull up just a little bit of that. You can do blending with it if you just put colors next to each other and just let them wick into each other. That'll blend and soften the edges on the color, but that also kind of works against you if you're trying to lay in anything that's really straight and hard-edged. Watercolor doesn't do that really well. So I can just go get water on my brush, and I can use that water to just lift up some of this color and spread it across. This is going to be my lightest color, and I think I have a little bit too much color. I'm going to show you in a minute how I'm going to get it out. I'm just going to spread it a little bit evenly. When I look at this here, I have some really light lights here, and also on the mountain right here. I'm also going to want to put some orange in here. So what I can do is I can take a little bit of a napkin or a paper towel, and I can go ahead and I can pull up some of this color here and here, and on the face of that mountain, and here, and over here where my orange is going to go. So I'll pull a little bit of that up, and that's going to help me to put the other colors in. Because the watercolors are transparent, if I try to put orange on top of blue, they're going to neutralize it. It's just going to turn kind of a muddy gray brown. So they're not opaque. You can't layer one color on top of the other. Now later I'm going to take and put blues in the bottom here, and then I lay greens over the blues, and the green is going to absorb some of that blue color, so I'm going to do that very intentionally. But I don't want to do it with my orange and my blues because they'll just turn into a big muddy mess, which is really kind of the biggest issue when you're dealing with watercolors, is it can get muddy pretty quickly. So I am going to, I've got a little bit of blue left in this brush from a project I was doing earlier. I'm going to grab a little bit of black. I don't ever do 100% black. Black absorbs all the colors. And so if you go with a pure black, sometimes it's just too dark. It's too much. But also, it's just too much of, it just absorbs so much of the color. So I always add a little, now remember that peak was just to the right of our center line. Comes down, 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 and off to the side there. Looking at this line here now. Okay. And I'm going to go and set in some of my darkest darks here. Right here, I have this little peak. Got a darkness below it there. I have another little range that comes in here. This is not going to be perfect. This is going to be far from it. I will tell you that right now. And I'm just going to have to learn to be okay with that. I am not good at not being good at things. That is not something I handle well. And so I struggle with watercolor. And, you know, it's just something that, you know, in my DNA or whatever. But I do know that once I get going here, I'm going to release all sorts of wonderful endorphins in my brain, and it is going to start flooding my brain with all my happy chemicals. So if I just persist, even if I do a bad job, I'm going to have a good day. Okay, I just wanted to knock that in so I could really see where I'm going. I'm going to leave that for a minute. See all this fuzziness here? That's where it's wicking that moisture, and that's okay. I mean, that's what watercolor does, so I'm not going to get too uptight about that. I'm going to come down here now, and I've got this ochre running all the way through here. Now, I am fortunate enough I've got ochre right here in my pan. I'm just going to get really nice and wet and soften that up. Take it over here. But even this ochre here is just a little too bright for me. So I'm going to go grab a little bit of this blue and bring it over and mix it in. Orange and blue are on the opposite sides of the color wheel. They're complementary colors. And if you mix them together, it muddies them up a little bit. But in this instant, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I hope I'm in camera. Let me pull this in to make sure I'm in camera range. So I took a little bit of the blue and mixed it in. In this instance, I want to muddy it up a little bit because it's not a super bright orange. And so I wanted to neutralize those colors. So this orange comes in over here, or the ochre, I guess, right below this peak here. And then it comes down here. It's a little bit over here. This big thing comes here, down. Sorry, I'm not talking. I'm thinking, I'm looking, I'm seeing, and I'm just trying to decide where all these little patches of ochre are. And I'm not going to get them all. I'm not going to get this perfect because, like I said, this isn't my bag. This isn't what I normally do. But I'm going to do okay, and I'm going to do my best. And that's all you have to do too today, is just do your best. And I'm sure it will be awesome. Got a little bit more down here, just a little scratch of it. Okay, I've got some orange up in here, as long as I've got this ochre. I think it's dry enough now that I can go ahead and throw a little bit of orange in here. There's a little bit right here. see, do you see any more orange up in there? A little bit over here, not much. Orange, orange. Okay. And a little bit on this peak here. Okay. All right. Rinse my brush. And I'm dabbing my brush in between. And let's go over. In here we have all this green running all through here, and here it actually gets really dark, a really dense dark green. But I'm going to knock in the rest of this green first just to kind of get started with it. Again, I've got this really bright green here, but I think this is going to be too bright. It's too leafy, too grassy, not even grassy, it's just very leafy green. So I'm going to go and grab some of this green over here, darken it up a little bit, and then again I'm going to grab a little teeny bit of red just to make it sit down a little bit and not be quite so obnoxiously green. If I added yellow, it could make it too yellowy. It's pretty neutral. I think I went too far. I'm going to go grab some more green out of here. Lighten it back up. There we go. I can live with that. Okay. So now, going back in here, all the areas where I didn't have my ochre, I'm going to go ahead and put in the green. I'm just going to really kind of mush it around. I'm going to let it go ahead and wick into the orange, the ochre, and soften it. Because that's what it wants to do anyway. And it'll just have a more painterly effect if it does that. And we got lots of color, lots of lights and darks, and we're going to get to all of that. But right now, it's okay if my ochre and my green kind of halo into each other a little bit. I think it's going to help this kind of meld together. When I get down here, it's going to get much darker, but I'll go ahead and I'll lay this green in just to give it a foundation color. Just all the green. Laying in my big blocks of color right now, and then I'll work. Like I said, I'm going to go light to dark. I need to make more green. Use the light green. I brought in this darker green. And then you blot this out. Just a tad of red. Okay. So not worrying too much about control, just blocks of color. And I've got some green in the sky too. I'm going to go and grab that as long as I have my green out. This is darker down here. I'm going to just go ahead and let this be darker. Okay, up in the sky, see we got some darker blues and some greens in there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab those greens. So I'm going to add water because I want this to be really light. There's not a ton of green. A little green there. Across here. Over here. Some green on the mountain here. Let's see if I have any more green on the mountain down here. it in here. Okay. I'm going to go back in and work on the sky some more and bring in some of my darker blues. So I'm going over here to my medium blue here. And just going to work on the sky first. I've got to bring some of these blues into a really dark blue in here. We'll get to that. You know, painters would just be painting what they saw. They'd be sitting out there with their paints, watching a monsoon roll in across the desert, and this is what they would be capturing. Okay, I'm going to rinse the extra water out of my brush, and I'm going to go in and I'm just going to add water here and lighten this up and move this around a little bit. And it's really, I think, harder to copy what somebody else did. So we have to sit and look at what Cezanne did. Whereas if we were painting this on our own, we could just kind of, you know, wing it a little bit if we wanted to. But we're trying to copy his. So I'm not going to worry too much about copying his. I'm going to block this a little bit. Copying his exactly. And I'm just going to try and have a little bit more fun with doing my impression of it. I'm going to take this back out again. Take a little bit of this out again. I'm going to bring the blue around here. Okay, on here. Okay, and then I have a more, even darker blue. So I'm going to go over here to my dark. And I'm going to pull in a little bit, let me rinse my brush and blot it. Pull in a little bit of purple here for my purpley blues, which run along the bottom here. Got a lot of purple in here, all along here. And I'm going to put a bit of water, get this to move a little bit. Let it go ahead and wick one color into the other and blend a little bit here. Okay. Softening everything just a little bit. Okay. Now let's go back to this bottom part here. I've got this blue-black hair that I created. I'm going to throw some green in it. Just really green this up. And I'm going to come down here where we have some, this could even be blacker still. I'll start with this and then I'll come in and bring more black in. There's some water in here. Soften this up a little bit. Let it go ahead and wick. Let it do its thing. Move that color around. This over here is pretty green, light green over here, but darker over here. And move that color around a little bit with the water. Let it blend. Okay, gonna go darker still. So I'm gonna grab some black. I'll grab some green. And I think I'm going to switch over to a different brush. You know what? I'm not going to do that right now because this is so wet. I think instead I'm going to grab some black, bring it over here with my blues, and just go in and get a little bit more black in here. This looks almost bruised. Okay. And back to the grass. I grab this color. I just want to blot out my. First, I don't want it too wet. Need more black. Okay. This isn't exactly what Cezanne did, but I am okay with that. And yours won't be exactly what Cezanne did, and that's okay too. But I'll bet you after today, you will never look at a watercolor the same again, because I think it's probably one of the hardest media to work with. I know it is for me. Okay, I'm just going to take and pull a little bit of that black around. I'm going to grab some of this blue too, because it's really got a lot of blue in here. Okay, going back in here. I have these little house-like things. I think they're houses. These also kind of look like they might be houses back here, but just the shadow of them. Here we have some dark darks. I'm gonna have to make some more. I get some water, some green. Okay, I'm gonna blot my brush real quick. Just getting kind of structures that are implied over here. Got some dark greens in here that I'm going to work on. I want to put a little bit darker here just so I can really feel the weight of that mountain in there. Throw some water in here and let it wick. A little bit more black. Ooh, too black. Changed my mind. Pull that up. Too black. I'm going to go in there with some water and I'm going to pull it up. There we go. That's more what I'm looking for. Okay, now I am just probably making it worse, but sometimes it's hard to know when to stop, right? These, to me, they're too obvious. I'm going to also go in there, I'm going to throw some orange in there. There's some brighter oranges in here. Whoops, that's a dirty brush. Let's do that again. Some nice bright oranges down in here. Okay. I'm done. So, it is not a perfect rendering, but I am not unhappy with it. And I'm going to stop there before I overwork this and make it any worse. And so you can go ahead and continue working and see where you get with it. Don't forget when you're done to go ahead and take a picture of it and upload it into your assignment folder. And that's it for our watercolor day.